I just recently did a video about David Miscavige and how he has been in hiding, but I've also in the past done a video about Tom Cruise within Scientology because there's just a lot of weird stuff with Tom Cruise. If you guys clicked on this video, you probably know that there's a lot of rumors and proof to back up that his marriages within Scientology were arranged. And then the last video that I did was basically going over how David Miscavige cannot be found and they've been trying to serve him with papers for trafficking about 30 times. But today we're going to be talking about an accusation that came out against Tom Cruise from an ex-Scientologist back in 2011. I don't know if anything came of this situation, but I know that when I heard it, I was just like, oof, interesting. So I wanted to share that with you guys in today's video because it's not a detail that I put in my previous video about Tom Cruise. Sorry, Tom, I got another one coming at you. Okay. Before we get into this, I have new members content, so if you guys would like to join and become a member, definitely consider checking out what I have to offer. There is badges and custom emotes, and you will get videos that I will not be posting publicly, and also uncensored videos that are extended cuts of other content that I post on my channel. But without further ado, let's go ahead and I hate when people say that, without further ado. Now, it's no secret that there have been many allegations against the Church of Scientology for trafficking and also for basically free labor. They have people that they raise up within Scientology, some as young as 6 years old, and they brainwash them and indoctrinate them into the church so that they will do things for the church. This is something that they've been accused of on numerous occasions. It's not new information. It's something that has repeatedly been something that people have come at them for. There's a lot of evidence that shows that this is actually happening, and again, nothing is ever done about it. But there are new allegations against the church that I went over in my last video, but in this video, this is an accusation that it's going to be 12 years ago this year that this allegation occurred, and I think it just goes to show you that nothing is ever done about it. On February 9th, 2011, Radar Online put out an article that was titled "Tom Cruise Received Free Labor from the Church of Scientology." This article references another one from the New Yorker, which begins with describing how ex-Scientologist member Paul Haggis, which is the writer for the screenplay of $1 Million Baby, wrote a letter to the chief spokesperson for the Church of Scientology International. Now, this letter was asking him to make a public statement denouncing the actions of the Church of Scientology San Diego. This was because somebody who was a part of the Church of Scientology in San Diego, they were a staff member there, they signed their name to an online petition in support of Proposition 8. Now, this is what asserts the state of California should sanction marriage only between a man and a woman. Now, I didn't actually know this, but I think this is important to mention as well because Paul Haggis is mentioned in this video that he was actually found liable for a woman after a movie premiere. Now, the jury actually ordered that he pay his accuser at least $7.5 million with further punitive damages. So in November of 2022, Paul was found liable of assaulting publicist Haley Brousseau in his luxury penthouse following a Manhattan film premiere a decade ago. She was awarded $10 million, including damages in a civil suit. Now, Paul Haggis is attempting to appeal the decision. Now, there are 4 other women who have come forward accusing Paul Haggis of misconduct after she filed her lawsuit. They either testified or had sworn depositions played in the court during his civil trial. Paul Haggis's lawyers complained that the 3 of the 4 Jane Doe's testimony, which was captured via a recording deposition that was played in court, was not held to the same evidentiary standard as live trial testimony. This article also says that Leah Remini, a former Scientologist and fierce critic of the religion, described him as a caring, warm, and funny person who cares deeply about the underdog. She framed Paul Haggis as a victim of Scientology in the assault case, and Leah Remini also testified that the assault allegation leveled at him by 5 separate women had no bearing on her opinion of Paul Haggis. Mike Rinder, who is also a former Scientologist spokesperson and co-host of Leah Remini's Fair Game podcast, also testified in defense of Paul at the trial, labeling him as one of the top 3 enemies of the church. Haley Brousseau and her attorneys repeatedly denied any connection to the Church of Scientology throughout his trial. Church officials told the Daily Beast it was not surprised that the jury did not believe Paul Haggis. They said, "None of this surprised us because we know his character and know firsthand that he is a liar because he blatantly lied about us. In other words, again, we told you so," the Church of Scientology said in a statement. "It is not the church's concern what Hollywood does with Paul Haggis," the church said. "That is up to Hollywood and whether it wants to be associated with someone who a jury unanimously concluded young woman. Regardless of how Hollywood treats Haggis going forward, we know we were right about him the whole time. From the very beginning, we said Haggis is self-centered fabulist who scripts his made-up version of reality while hiding his evil deeds. But if you scroll further down in this article, that is where John Brousseau, I'm probably messing his last name up. I always mess up people's last names. I'm sorry. But that's where he comes up. And that is the ex-Scientologist that made these allegations against Tom Cruise. He was a former Sea Org member within Scientology for more than 30 years, and also the former brother-in-law of David Miscavige. So he was in that family, and he was still making these accusations. And he's not the first family member of David Miscavige to make accusations. His own dad did. When he was leaving the church, he drove to South Texas to meet up with Marty Rathbun, who he was within Scientology. He was actually the man that did auditing for Tom Cruise, and he's the one who outed David Miscavige for being the one that was secretly recording Tom Cruise's auditing sessions. And he said that David Miscavige would take these recordings of Tom and he would play them for other people that were higher up within Scientology and basically laugh and make jokes about Tom Cruise's confessions within Scientology. Marty Rathbun was the guy that did that. Like, he was deep in there. Like, if he was somebody that knew that Tom Cruise was being recorded without his permission, you know he was high up in there. So when he left, he became as like a person that would help people who were leaving the church and counseling them and things like that. So he's a very known ex-member. John went to South Texas to meet up with him. Now, while he was there, he actually got followed by other Scientologists. This is something that also happens a lot within Scientology, where when somebody tries to leave, they get stalked and harassed. So John maintained ground and buildings at Gold Base. He worked for over a year on the renovation of the Scientology ship Free Winds by installing bars over doors of the hull. Now, this was done shortly after Marty Rathbun escaped. And that's another thing that the Church of Scientology says did not happen. So John went to South Texas, stayed at a motel, and was meeting up with Marty. So he was leaving his room to go get a coffee. He heard footsteps behind him, and there were about 20 Scientologist members that went there to find him. I mean, they probably knew that he was meeting up with Marty and didn't want him to. Like, they're like extremely paranoid over information like this getting out to the public. Like, they don't want people to hear stuff like this. And so when people try and leave, they stalk and harass them. They want to see where they're going, who they're talking to, what they're doing. What is that place called in Utah? Is it Colorado Springs? I can't remember the name of it, but there's a place in Utah where like you go there and it's basically run by polygamists and they will literally follow you. I remember seeing something on Escaping Polygamy where polygamists were trying to leave and they will literally do whatever they can to prevent you from leaving or from people coming in that are outsiders. It kind of reminds me of that. So he went and hid from these people that stalked him there in a room. And while he was in there, he called Marty, who then called the police. One of the members was by the name of Tommy Davis, and he was being questioned by the police, and he admitted they did fly down there, but he said there was nothing suspicious going on, that he just flew there to see an old friend. Which, that's a weird move. Like, if you're flying to see somebody that doesn't want to see you, didn't really line up there, you know what I'm saying? Now, one of the reasons why John said he had so much anxiety about them following him there was because he worked on a few special projects for Tom Cruise. So he was worried that they were following him there because of something having to do with that, which is interesting. It was in 2005 that David Miscavige showed Tom Cruise a Harley Davidson that John had worked on, and Tom looked at John and asked if he could paint his bike like that. So Tom brought in two of his motorcycles, which was a Triumph and a Honda Run, and these motorcycles had to be disassembled to have all of the parts nickel plated before the paint job that Tom Cruise wanted, which was hours and hours and hours of labor. He also alleged that he helped customize a Ford Excursion SUV, installing features like a handmade eucalyptus paneling, that customization job for the SUV was presented to Tom as a gift from David Miscavige. So all of his labor that he spent on Tom Cruise's motorcycles and this SUV, he only got $50 a week to do all of that. Now, there was no mention if Tom offered to pay him money for him customizing his motorcycles. I don't know if he did, but I'm pretty sure if he offered John money, John would have taken it, because who wants to do anything like that for free? I don't care who you are. Like, I don't care if you're Taylor Swift. Like, I'm not making you something for free that's gonna take hours and hours and hours and hours of my life. You know what I mean? Like, especially something on a vehicle, that's crazy. But there's no mention on if he offered him anything, so I'm not gonna say that he didn't or did or whatever. I don't know. But he wasn't paid anything. Now, the motorcycles Tom specifically asked him to do and gave him no money for it, which is crazy to me that he wouldn't even offer him a dime. It's like he just expected it, like he expected, deserved, or had the right to ask somebody to do something like that for him that would take that much time and give them nothing for it. If I was going to ask somebody, even if it was a friend, to do something like that for me, or they offered to do something like that for me, I would offer to pay for it. That's just common courtesy. But the fact that, like, there's no mention that he even did that. Now, the SUV thing, I don't think is necessarily Tom Cruise's, like, fault or issue, because it was a gift from David Miscavige. So David Miscavige should have been the one paying John for the SUV, whereas Tom Cruise asking somebody to do something that takes that much time on not just one motorcycle, but two of them, and not give them a dime for it, is disgusting. John also said that he worked on the renovation of an airport hangar that Tom maintained in Burbank. And so Tom Cruise's attorney responded to the allegations at the time, and he denied them and said, as well as the Church of Scientology, Tom's attorney said that the Church of Scientology has never expended any funds to the personal benefit of Mr. Cruise or provided him with free services. Tommy Davis, the one that followed John to Texas, said that these projects were done by contractors and that John acted as an advisor. And he also said none of the church staff involved were coerced in any way to assist Mr. Cruise. Church staff and indeed church members hold Mr. Cruise in a very high regard and are honored to assist him. Whatever small economic benefit Mr. Cruise may have received from the assistance of church staff pales in comparison to the benefits the church has received from Mr. Cruise's many years of volunteer efforts for the church. And then this article said, yet this assistance may have involved many hours of unpaid labor on part of Sea Org members. Now, in this article for The New Yorker that was titled The Apostate Paul Haggis versus the Church of Scientology, which was written by Lawrence Wright, it stated that John showed dozens of photographs that documented his work on Tom Cruise's things. He has proof that he worked on Tom Cruise's things, so it doesn't matter if they're saying that he didn't, if he's got evidence that he did. On this blog post from TonyOrtega.org from July 3rd, 2022, it is titled Tom Cruise Benefiting from Scientology Sea Org Slave Labor, the Photographic Proof. Whenever you scroll down, you can see that photographic proof. So in this first picture, there's John holding a model of a P-51 Mustang, and this was apparently a gift to Tom Cruise. The photo was taken at the Gilman Hot Springs highly secretive Scientology headquarters in the California desert. In this photo from the base, John shows two of Tom Cruise's bikes. These bikes are where he and two other Sea Org members painted, getting only $50 a week. The one on the left in this photo is the Honda Rune, which Tom was given by Steven Spielberg for the War of the Worlds premiere, and that John had to disassemble to give the new red paint job that Tom wanted. There's also a picture of Tom and Katie Holmes on the bike at the War of the Worlds premiere in Los Angeles. This article also says that before he could give the Honda Rune a paint job similar to the one on a David Miscavige bike and the P-51 Mustang model, he first had to strip the parts of the bike that had a custom War of the Worlds paint job, and he says that he refused to paint over this fine work and instead had new parts ordered, and then the old parts are in this photo sit in the Scientology headquarters. And then in this picture you can see John setting up a truce system in Tom Cruise's hangar at the Million Air Aviation Services in Burbank, California. It says that Tom Cruise paid for the materials, and John says 99% of the work was done by Sea Org members who were paid $50 a week. The final result of the work had custom signs and drapery in Tom Cruise's aircraft hangar, and he said no contractors were enlisted in the manufacture of the signs or draperies, and also it has his Ford Excursion in the foreground. Now, this is the vehicle that was given to Tom Cruise as a gift from David Miscavige. In this picture, you can see the Ford Excursion and also with the airplane model that he was working on in the background. And then inside of the Excursion, it shows the custom work in progress. In this picture, he said the metal contraption in the foreground is supposed to be a mount for a baby seat that was to go between Tom and Katie. And then in this picture, you can see the recovered eucalyptus burl from a tree that had blown over at the Scientology base. He said that Tom loved it as it had come from a tree that hit the base where he had achieved this state of clear in the early 90s. DM let him know that it was a special piece of wood from the base, and Tom raved about it. John said that he went so far as to create a custom Mont Blanc pen with the eucalyptus wood and a secret compartment for it in the car. Dave Miscavige went nuts when he saw this, and so did Tom. And then in the Excursion, there's an aluminum step that bears the Tom Cruise logo. Tom had paid for the aluminum stock, but the work that went into it was provided by the Sea Org. The end of this article says that Scientology told the New Yorker that all of this work was done by outside contractors, not Sea Org members. But John told the New Yorker that the work was being provided by workers making almost nothing. At the time, the Church of Scientology was under an FBI investigation after the allegations of human trafficking and use of unpaid labor, and that was in 2011. So this just continues to come up time and time again, and like my last video I did about this, nothing is really ever done about it because I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they have a lot of money and a lot of power and influence there. I don't know, I just find this to be really gross. Like the fact that he asked him to do something for free for him, like they weren't even friends. Like and even if you were friends, you would pay them for something like that. If you guys didn't see my other videos on Tom Cruise or other video on Tom Cruise, definitely check it out because there's just some weird stuff with him. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really proud of that video, honestly. I did a deep dive into Tom Cruise. Like we went all the way back in the past, present. We went hard in that video, so definitely go check it out. And here's your reminder, if you guys would like to join members content, definitely check out my tiers. I would love to have you guys become a member. And those of you that have joined, thank you guys so much for being a part of this channel. Make sure you guys click subscribe if you have not yet, and give this video a thumbs up. And if you guys would like to leave me a comment, let me know your thoughts, that would be great too. I'll be seeing you guys soon for another video.